Ow, ow. Now, ow, ow. Oh, my love keep you up tonight. Baby, how do you sleep when you lie to me? All that pain and all that suffering. I hope that my love will keep you up tonight. Baby, how do you... Meow, meow. Meow, meow, meow. Oh, my love keep you up tonight. All right, yesterday we went to the real Mr. Brandt's channel. There he is. He's dressed in a pig costume, not a bunny. It looks real small on my phone. Sorry about that. This is part 2. He goes live, and then I guess a bigger manager shows up. He goes live. And if you didn't see yesterday's, go watch it. And also subscribe to my BitChute and check out my Etsy store if you'd be so kind. So here's part 2. He goes live, and they take him to a back room. Let's watch it together.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm Eric Brandt.
Hi.
Hi.
Demi Trujillo.
Say again?
Me Trujillo?
Demi Trujillo. Tammy. I'm like deaf, I'm sorry. So, Tammy, we're having a little issue here. It's very simple, actually. There is a procedure for the determination of indigence, and I'm concerned because none of these employees here will follow that procedure. As a matter of fact, they have admitted to me that they have not even read the procedure. That they have not read the procedure is evident to somebody like myself, because I actually am the Chief Justice Directive 0404 and the determination of indigency in criminal matters. So, not to be rude or arrogant, I actually do know this procedure extremely well, which is why I know it's 26 pages. I also absolutely know that they're not following it. I don't even need their admission that they're not following it. Their behavior is evident that they're not following it. So I'm just here to apply for the public defender, and I'm being threatened with violence if I don't leave. And I don't think that's very appropriate. So maybe you can help sort this out.
Ouch.
Did you fill out an application?
I did fill out the application. Form specified in Chief Justice Directive 0404, and I have signed this under oath, under penalty of perjury that the so the reason why I knew instantly that she did not actually know the procedure was because they were demanding information that is actually excluded by the directive. And they would know that if they'd read the directive. And then she told me that she needs to know, evaluate my expenses.
Because there's other people here.
Oh, and I'm sorry, and I'm deaf, so I tend to be loud anyway. But believe me, this isn't loud. I'll try to.
Tiffany was asking for any kind of information. Okay.
Yes.
So,
and that's very concerning because
and the zeros in there because it was just a lot.
there's no input form for public assistance.
So hold on really quick. So he did put the zeros on here, and I asked if he was currently working. He said he was unemployed. My next question was, how long has he been unemployed? And he would not answer that question.
So I would be happy to answer that question if she could show me what authorizes her to ask that question.
Go into a different room.
Okay. Sure. Yeah. It is, yeah.
Okay.
I'll
Do you
grab
want
it.
to grab it or do you?
Thank you. Oh, yes, please. I need some water. These things dry me out. Oh, sure. So this is the State Public Defender's Office here in Denver at the Civic Center building. Is that what this is called?
Yeah.
Is that what they refer? Yeah. The what? I appreciate you inviting me to speak at a room. I know that it can get kind of loud. Of course, noted that legally I've been invited into the room, so therefore I couldn't possibly be trespassing.
Okay, so, sorry. So we're at the application stage. What is it?
Yes.
I just needed to know the income, what type of
I haven't seen this yet, by the way.
He's
Well,
unemployed,
yes.
and I asked how, and that's when he would not answer the question.
So I don't have any problem answering a question that she has the lawful authority to deal with it, right? So I'm presuming that if she thinks she has to ask a question, that the answer to that question is somehow going to relate to the determination of indigence, right? I mean, you wouldn't ask for information that doesn't relate to the question, because you would be processing.
How could a homeless guy know their job better than they do? How's that possible? That's if you're still homeless, Eric. You told me that you were several times and that you don't mind being homeless, so I'm not saying it as an insult. But honestly, how could a homeless guy know their procedures and policies and the way they're supposed to run protocol better than they do, and they receive a taxpayer-funded paycheck for it? That's disturbing.
Information for somebody that has not been lawfully given the authority to process. So, I mean, you could ask me, I own 3 chickens, and if that, unless owning 3 chickens would make some sort of difference in your outcome, right? So, if you were to own 3 chickens, I would like to see a document that tells you to ask that question and how that information is going to be used. So it's really a very simple question. She thinks I'm being hostile. I haven't even used vulgar language with her, and I'm somewhat famous for my vulgar language. So you guys should consider this somewhat of a treat. But, in the interest of your office...
This is a treat, Eric, and we thank you.
I have no problem answering her questions if she actually has the authority to ask them, and if I can see what objective standard my response is going to be evaluated by.
The question about how long you've been unemployed or whether you're receiving any income based on your unemployment.
Right, you hit the nail on the head. There's actually quite a number of questions and concerns in here, right? The first, what was the name that was helping me at first?
You want to call her name?
Wait, so
So she actually told me that she couldn't process my application because she asked me if I was receiving any public assistance. That's a huge red flag right there. That's actually the reason why I sued the city and county of Denver, was for that question. So obviously if she answers that question, she asks that question, then I know she doesn't know the answer. And then therefore it's important for me to make sure that the next guy that walks in the door, who might not know the actual procedure, isn't subjected to a government employee making a decision about the future of his life who also doesn't know the procedure. So we really must know this procedure.
I'm not sure I'm following. I think the end game, right, is to determine whether or not you qualify for the public defender.
Yes.
Okay. So that's part of our process.
Yes, I would expect that to be, yeah.
Okay.
The operative word being process, yeah.
Right. So I guess I'm confused about what you're uncomfortable answering.
I'm uncomfortable about answering questions that I absolutely know with certainty are not part of the process.
Okay. How much are you receiving?
There's certain questions on the application that he knows for a fact are not needed to be answered, nor are they mandatory to be answered. Sorry you guys don't believe that, but that's the facts.
In any sort of assistance? What sort of income? Do you have any income in any form?
So if I were to answer that question with a yes or
Define income.
no, what would you do with the yes answer? What would you do with a no answer? How would answering that question, yes or no, change the path of your process?
Because you would determine what sort of documentation we need.
What would you need documentation for?
Of the income, of whatever income you're
CLU of Colorado just called me. Okay. My battery's gonna die. I need to start recording. So there is a process here. I know that the process is Chief Justice Directive 4. And I'm just wondering, she says she doesn't have time to read that procedure, but it's only 26 pages.
Is there any sort of income verification you can provide?
Is there some sort of document that you can show me that would compel me to up my Fourth Amendment right to be secure in my papers and property that affects without a warrant? So why do I have to give that information to you? What authorizes you to compel me to give information that I might be concerned is a privacy question that you don't have the authority to mandate, right? And so there's the question. So what I'm not going to do is tell you I'm not going to answer your question at all. What I'm saying is that I would like to see what standard you're using. I would like to see what's obligating me to answer that question, how that information is going to be used specifically in this determination of indigence.
To verify the information on the application.
I've signed the application under penalty of perjury, right? So do you have evidence to suggest that I've been untruthful in my application?
I don't.
Okay. So if you aren't suspecting that I've been untruthful, that I've been untruthful, then why would I need to answer questions? You say you want to verify it. Well, I've signed it, so it's therefore de facto truth until it's been challenged. So are you challenging the validity of my statement?
I'm not.
Okay.
But what I can do is I can give you the contact information. So we follow the policies and directions based on our state office.
Okay.
And you're welcome to contact them.
So do you agree with me the state Supreme Court has issued a procedure for determining indigence as it relates to state-funded counsel?
Yes, but I'm not going to do an interview with you. And so if you have questions about our statewide policies.
See, I don't have, here's the funny thing here. I actually don't have questions about the statewide policy. It's
You're the ones asking him questions.
a 27-page Chief Justice directive, okay? And it was signed by the state Supreme Court justices, and it expressly lays out the procedure and the meaning of the various input fields. And nowhere in that procedure, anywhere in that procedure, does it say that you need to verify my income or expenses.
Okay.
Okay, so this is a problem because I've now gone through 2 desk agents and
So you are not following the procedure.
2 supervisors, and I have goons threatening me with violence. Right? They're saying that I have to leave because I'm asking questions about your process that I'm being subjected to. This process is going to have a substantial impact on my family's future. This is a very serious charge. It's a felony assault on a police officer. Okay? That's the allegation. I did not assault the police officer, and that's why I need you guys, right?
Okay.
Because I could go to prison for a lot of years for this. So if she thinks she doesn't have time to read a 26-page procedure that actually is her procedure to do, she's acting as a state employee, arbitrarily enforcing policies that don't exist. And they have substantial impacts on people's lives. So I don't have time to spend 6 years in prison. Don't you think you ought to read a 26-page document? Are you ashamed of yourself?
All right. This is not going to turn into an interrogation of our staff.
Well, it was already...
So that's all they care about, is that they don't look bad, even though they're making themselves look bad. Why don't you know your job? Why don't you know the procedure? How does this guy know it better than you? Why? How? How does that happen?
interrogation of me. She was already asking me for information that is protected under the Constitution.
Right, and so what I can do is I can give you the contact information for our administrative office,
Or you could just follow the procedure.
who sets forth the policies and what we need to do as a regional office to qualify people.
Do you have a written policy? I mean, I'd be happy to. I would like to read it. I've asked her if I can see the policy, if I can see the procedure.
That's something that you can talk to our state office about.
Okay.
Okay? So if you want to wait right here, I will get you some contact information and you can communicate with them about sort of these bigger, broader questions.
So I've made the trip down here. Obviously, I have all. I'm just wondering if couldn't we just cut to the chase and maybe show me the authority to do this? I mean, I'm willing to accept that I'm wrong.
I think the issue is I'm getting mixed information because I thought, and maybe I'm wrong, but I thought you said you are receiving some form of public assistance.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
But what I want to know is why they think that they have the authority to ask that question at all.
I'm not going to go into esoteric questions either.
Oh, it's not an esoteric question.
Esoteric. I'm going to have to look that one up.
It's a question of law. It's a question of people going to prison for the rest of their lives over a piece of information that she actually does not have the right to process.
So
That's a big deal.
Are you not receiving any income?
He's asking where you get the authority to even ask that question. What in the world? Do these people speak English? He's very clear and articulate. Very clear.
This is accurate?
So I've asserted several times that my signature on the bottom of that form indicates that that form is accurate to the best of my knowledge, and I accept that it could subject me to a perjury penalty, right? And I know we never process cops for perjury, but they do process the little people, right? So I'm not going to put my neck on the line.
Dope.
I'm telling you that this information is true and accurate. I've signed it. And you need to accept it as fact unless you're going to challenge it. So are you challenging the validity of my information?
So I think maybe this is where I either misunderstood or somebody
He filled out the application under penalty of perjury and signed it. He's saying there should be no other questions.
misunderstood. If you're not receiving any income, which is what is communicating.
No, that's not what this is communicating.
Oh, sorry.
Right, because this is labeled right here, gross. Right, and I always have to ask for page 2 of the application, right? But there's 2 pages to this application. Are apparently not just being given both pages, which means that even though the Supreme Court justices have designed this form, like pages, this second page, I'm going to presume that those people don't want to waste their time, right? They're very busy, and they have provided this description here that actually defines what those fields mean. And most notably, gross monthly income, it says, includes income from all members of it. Income categories include wages, tips, salaries, compensations, payments received as an independent contractor for labor or services, bonuses, dividends, severance pay, pensions, retirement benefits, royalties, interest, investment earnings, trust income, annuities, capital gains, unemployment benefits, social security disability, different from VA disability, social security supplemental income, workman's compensation, alimony. These are all income sources that are taxable forms of original revenue. Okay? And then it says right here, income categories do not include TANF, food stamps, subsidized housing assistance, veterans benefits earned from a disability, child support payments, or other public assistance programs. So why did the Chief Justices of the state of Colorado design a procedure that's only 26 pages and design an input?
Dude, this is like a clinic. He's training their trainers right now.
Form that is only 2 pages that we're not willing to read? Because if we were to read that, we would know that we don't have any right to be asking the question about government subsidies, because it's expressly included. And there's a reason why it's expressly excluded. And that leads it to another issue that we raised. She said she needed to evaluate my expenses. And I'm telling you that the Chief Justices did not give you that authority. Only the judge has that authority. That input field is used exclusively by the judge. Yeah, sure.
Sorry to interrupt. I just want to speak with Claudia real quick. It's an emergency.
Okay.
It'll be but a second.
Right, so I can tell you that I do understand why those aren't included. And you did notice that all the first ones were taxable original income, and all of the others are government assistance and compensation programs, right? So there's a substantial difference in those kinds, and government assistance programs are intended to shore up basic living expenses. So unless you get to step 2 of this procedure, the expenses are not evaluated. You don't have the authority to go to step 2 of the application, of the procedure. Your only authority is step 1. And in step 1, it is simply gross income higher or lower than the threshold. So I know that the process is that you take my gross income, and if it exceeds the threshold in the table that's provided in the 26-page procedure, then it's a pass at the preliminary level. If it is above it, then it goes to the judge to be determined. So she doesn't even have the authority to make a determination on the information she's asking me to provide. That information is private. Okay? It's private information.
He's just shredding these hookers.
Security.
And I wouldn't give you a copy of my benefits income any more than I would give you a picture of my underwear drawer. You are equally uninterested in both. And you don't have the authority for either, and neither one of them has anything to do with step 1 of the application process.
I don't think anybody's understanding what you're saying.
Do you think it would be easier for them to understand if they actually read the procedure?
Okay.
All right, I sued Denver for this procedure. I'm telling you, I'm trying to throw you a bone here.
Okay, that's fine. I think I'm just trying to sort of resolve the issue. And
Yeah, I am too, yeah.
Okay. So the question is, I think if you're receiving no income and the application is accurate, right?
The application is accurate, yes.
Okay. And you're asking for the public defender's office to be appointed.
Correct.
Okay. And then so your concern is that you were asked an additional question about potentially government benefits.
I was asked actually a number of questions that concerned me because she couldn't provide for me the input form that those would be based on. So I would be concerned that you're asking any questions that are not within the input form provided by the Supreme Court, right? Because that is the procedure. Why are you picking new standards to evaluate indigency on when you've already been given an order to comply with Chief Justice Directive 0404? Where are you getting these questions from? Who generated it? Where's the authoritative document that says what is essential?
Okay. So again, if
I'm perfectly willing to answer these questions if you can show this to me.
okay, but the information that we have that's provided shows that you receive no income, right?
No, I've never said to you that I received no income.
Well, this income as articulated here.
But my gross income adds up to zero.
Okay. As articulated here.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
Gross income. And these words mean something, right? And they mean so much that they provided a page 2 of the application. And every defendant should be getting page 2. I'm kind of disturbed by that because it's right there. There is a difference between gross income and government subsidy. So I'd like to know what you're doing. If I tell you that I received $5,000 for housing assistance, what would you do with that information? How would that affect my application?
Okay. I can talk to you about what you've placed on here.
Yeah.
And whether it's an approvable application. But if you
Yeah.
have bigger questions about the policies of the public defender's office, I'm going to refer you to our state office.
Yeah, you understand why this would be a big question, right? Because obviously nobody has ever challenged you on this. And that's disturbing to me because the procedure is quite old. It's also disturbing because I actually took this case to the Supreme Court. And not just anybody on the street, but actually me, right? So I think that we could all agree that this is a matter of public concern.
Yes.
Right? If nobody's asking you these kinds of questions, and if it's demonstrated that you guys aren't even providing the whole application, I just have to be appalled.
Yeah, that lady from the part 1, you should watch part 1. It's crystal clear what she looks like. The one on the left here. The one on the right just looks like Grey's Anatomy chick. The one on the left, she was real cocky about a half hour before this. Now she's eating her fist.
When the person making a decision about a person's life or death, the potential total destruction of their entire family, doesn't have the time to read a 26-page procedure. I'm appalled by this.
Shredded. Again, shredding that woman. That's what you get for being cocky and stupid.
And I should be appalled by this.
Okay. So as far as I can tell,
Okay.
on the application, because you have no income.
No, please use the words correctly. I did not say that I have no income. I said that my gross income, as defined in this procedure, is up to zero.
Okay, your gross monthly income.
Thank you.
That gets reported on our application for
Yes.
determination of
Yes.
indigency. You do qualify for the public defender's office. So that's
Thank
what I can talk to you about your application and what you have here, and that's fine. Your questions about our policies and procedures, you need to go through our state office, and I can give you a contact person for that.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So on this, when is your next court date? 4/9?
It's 4/9, but I must advise you that there are time-critical transitory evidences that need. And so, if you can assign me an attorney right away so that I can speak with them. We've already identified these locations, and quite frankly, we're very good at this. I've got a lot of experience on this, and I want to make sure that we enter orders and motions to preserve evidence now before those recordings could be lost. And because they're not public recordings,
Halo cameras or
if Halo cameras, the government has to provide me. There's a number of cameras that are owned by private entities in that area, and they're not compelled to provide information like that without some sort of substantial evidence trigger and an order from the court to produce. I mean, they don't have an obligation to just give that out. So, and this is, in my experience, information that if we don't act on now, it'll be lost forever.
Okay. What are you under investigation? Second degree assault? You mentioned it was a peace officer? No, just second degree assault.
They're alleging that he's a detective with the city and county of Denver.
Oh, I see. Okay. But they. Okay. You have a
I would, reservation.
Sure, I understand that. It's my understanding that somebody
Physical violence and criminal prosecutions against me for asking public servants questions about the information that they're requiring me to produce in my application for criminal defense. So yes, that's
Can I please see you again?
right. But this is an office open to the public.
And he's been just like
Yeah, it's an
he
office.
hasn't
Yeah.
caused any kind of disruption or been loud or obnoxious or anything. He's just trying to state what he knows to be true about this procedure, and to have the cops called on him and removed for merely trying to
I do think that that's outrageous, right? Yeah, I haven't committed any crimes. I haven't threatened anybody. I've simply asked questions about why certain questions are being asked. And I think that any reasonable person that's completing an input form for public services should be entitled, and that staff should be competent enough to simply answer those questions. Why should I be subject to criminal prosecution because I asked a question she didn't like, and then because they didn't like me, I have to leave the building? No, that's not how that works. And I know that you have a number of very qualified attorneys, and that many of them in the building have represented. This might be a very good time to go talk to them.
Excuse me though, but are you saying the police are here for him?
I don't know. I just thought somebody interrupted to say that
Yeah, I
security
know.
had called the police. I don't know whether they're here or not.
Yeah.
But obviously we don't want you to get arrested. So if they are here, I'd like to take a moment and just go deal with that.
I really don't think it's a good idea for the state public defender's office to suggest I go talk to the police. This might be a good time to maybe get a brief consult from one of your criminal defense attorneys.
Yeah, the defenders are advising him to go talk to the police. That already scares me.
Ask them to give you a little bit of guidance on how we should handle this.
No, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
I would deal with that. Not,
Oh, yeah.
not say
Thank you.
deal with that.
Yeah, I would prefer not to deal with the.
Going on out there, so
Yeah.
you keep getting interrupted.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Tammy, you said, right?
Demi.
Demi.
See, I thought Tammy.
You did say that. I did hear it right. I heard it right from wrong.
I heard Tammy also.
Are the police here?
I'm told to leave.
Okay.
Oh, God bless you. Thank you.
Okay. Because you're always
Oh, you saved a little face and you told the cops to leave. Good for you, because that would have really made you look even worse.
indigency guidelines. So the question is whether we can be appointed when no charges have been filed. And that doesn't appear that that has happened.
Now we have a state agency that exercised physical restraint, required a bond these charges to be filed, and only then the public defender's resources would attach. Then all of the evidence and potentially some of the witnesses would exist. So this stage, right, and we already know the state of Colorado changed the law 2 years ago, even mandating representation for misdemeanor defendants stuck in custody. I have a substantial risk to my interests in life, liberty, and health, because I could go to prison for this charge. So I need an allegation. Now there has been a probable cause statement filed. There is a case number, and I don't see how my legal interests can be preserved 2 years down the road. As a matter of fact, on the 80 days, and that's to preserve evidence and witnesses. So if the state thinks it's appropriate to preserve evidence and witnesses with a demand within 180 days of an incident to preserve your right to sue down the road, years down the road, I don't see why a criminal prosecution should have a less exacting standard.
You don't understand why the prosecution would have a less exacting standard?
Let's say, for the sake of example, that you are a government entity and I had a grievance against something that you did that I think I could sue for. I'm required to give you a legal notice identifying the facts of the case. I have to do that within 180 days, and if I don't do that, I don't get to sue later. So a civil defendant, a civil plaintiff that's seeking justice against a government entity in the state of Colorado must provide notice and trigger a preservation of evidence. Why? Because years down the road, they don't work there anymore. It's a big entity. The evidence has been lost. The witnesses are lost. The case becomes diluted and not, you can't demonstrate defenses or claims. So if that's for civil tort questions, and on this, there's a 2-year statute of limitations to bring the charges, but I'm on a bond right now. The fact that I've been on that bond is already impacting my liberty in other situations. There are substantial questions regarding my constitutionally protected liberties that this office has been charged with by the state to defend. So I do think that I need legal counsel right now. I've already to be exculpatory on a felony charge that cops love to stick on activists like myself because they can send us up the river for 6 years at a whack. Okay, what's the best way to silence somebody? Put them in a box for 6 years, right? They'll never speak again, right? If they survive it. So I'm facing a box for 6 years, and there's a 26-page procedure here, and I'm entitled legally to this representation. And I need it right now. So I think that I need to be assigned.
Dude, he is just shredding them to pieces. You want to talk about putting on a clinic?
Okay. When were you in for first advisement? On the 23rd?
Was that the day you were arrested?
I can't remember offhand.
Oh, you were arrested as well?
Mm-hmm.
Are you in the same position, or do you need?
Believe it or not, they didn't charge her as badly as they did me for a change. But
Wait, sorry.
I've already been accepted and all that and everything from my last information because I have Sarah Vardy. I have felony charges with her, and this is another charge where I actually charged for trying to discuss something with our mayor, and his security team attacked us and threw me back like 12 feet. And I was charged with, and he tried to like step in and say no. And I was charged with obstruction of
government operations. Yeah.
Government operations.
Unrelated to this.
So,
No, they're related.
Same incident.
Okay. If it's the same incident and we already represent you, we have a conflict with your case, which means you would have to be assigned what's called alternate defense counsel. Do you know what that is?
I'm quite aware of that, so I presume that you'll be assigned an alternative defense counsel. And if Julia Stansel's on your list, that would be great.
Okay. I'm sorry, I did not realize that you guys were co-defendants.
We have our, this group of people, to call it a group loosely, sometimes this question comes up. Sometimes without this isn't a he said, she said kind of question. So I don't have any objection to the same agency. And I don't know what your lawyer's position would be on that. But if you guys...
They can if I'm
well, legally they can, but they have to make a decision. But if you would prefer to go with alternative defense counsel, certainly that would be appropriate as well. Okay. And I do have a past relationship with Julia Stansel, by the way. So if she's on your list, I would have no objection if she'd be willing to take it.
It's not actually our list, so ADC, or Alternate Defense Counsel, they're their own separate entity, and they determine who gets assigned on cases, so I can't really make specific requests for particular people. But I can route this to Alternate Defense Counsel to communicate with them about getting someone assigned pre-filing of charges.
Would you route to them also that I have had a previous working relationship with Julia Stansel, and if she'll accept the case, I have no objection, and I think she probably would.
Okay.
Man, how the tide has turned. It's went from, we're going to call the police, you're not welcome here today, to he's being assigned an attorney, and he just 1,000% schooled two government employees, one a manager, supervisor, on their own job.
Okay. Is this a fun...
If you haven't seen Eric Brandt fight a jaywalking ticket and shred the judge to pieces, it's better than almost anything you'll see on TV.
Where you can be reached at 720-388-5752?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Let me get you the phone number for ADC.
Great.
And I will shoot them a heads up with an email. I can try and call or email with this information along with a copy of your application. And
I do. Did I not provide that on there? I have an email address. It's better to communicate with me.
Okay.
All right. I got to go. I'm assuming all goes well from here. He's not going to get arrested. He gets assigned counsel. Good job, Eric. As always, you're the man, bro. This is the real Mr. Brandt. Subscribe. Click the thumbs up. Word to your mothers. Eric's a bad brother. Thanks for watching my channel. Please like and subscribe to my channel while it's still commercially viable. What else? Hit up my BitChute and my Etsy store. And thanks for watching, everybody. I really appreciate it. Bye.